Welcome to the I'm a Busy Guy show. My name is Vince LoCasciowith, and I'm a busy guy. But you thought that I was a busy guy. I've got the world's busiest guy in how many counties now? The world, everywhere. Ron Onesti, welcome.
Vince, good to be back here.
Nice to have you here. Yes, and you do say welcome to be back because you are my first return guest. You were my first guest, not my last, but welcome back.
It's great. It's a pleasure to be here, Vince.
Especially as busy as you are. You've been called. I did our last show. We did a biography about you. So tonight we're going to cover quite a few other topics. So if people are interested, they can go to your website, which is O Shows, or to minebusyguy.co. But it can't go without saying that you've won the Ellis Island Medal of Honor Award, Emmy Awards, Casa Italian Man of the Year. It goes on and on. But I know something that's your pride right now is the Arcada Theater, which is in St. Charles. Can you tell me, how did you get involved with the Arcada Theater?
That's a great place, Vince. I mean, it was opened in 1926, and it was actually going to be, right now it should be an office building. But about 7 years ago, we came into the picture, and we kind of rescued it. And since then, developing it and renovating it, and I'm proud to say that it's back to the way it was when it first opened up Labor Day of 1926 in the Roaring '20s. And it's extremely exciting what's going on there now.
And so we can't, because it's a national, it's on the National Historic Registry. Mm-hmm. But let's talk a little bit about how it got started by Mr. Morris, who was a cartoonist.
Yeah, Lester J. Norris was an illustrator for the Chicago Tribune, and he had a really cool gig. He would, back in the 1920s, photography wasn't really prevalent for the newspapers, so in journalism. So he would get to go across the country and go to all the vaudeville shows and see all the Broadway shows. And then he would draw like the Foys or Jimmy Cagney or Al Jolson and send that, and he would email it back to, I'm just kidding, he would send it back to the newspaper.
That was the first email ever sent.
First email, yes. But no, that was the thing. So he got to go to all the shows. He was the first Entertainment Tonight reporter, actually, back then.
What I found interesting is he was a cartoonist / millionaire. How does one become a millionaire off of that?
Well, by working really, really hard, putting your nose at a grindstone, and marrying into a rich family.
Oh boy.
Yes.
So he soon became wealthy after the marriage.
Yes, he married into the Gates family, which was the Texaco oil family. And they were childhood sweethearts. And he always said if he ever had any money, he would build a theater like the ones he would see in California. And he would meet, he got to be very good friends with George Burns and Groucho Marx and the Three Stooges and Little Rascals. So when he came into money, and he was one of the founding fathers, became part of the family of the founding fathers of St. Charles, and they built that theater. Well, he brought all those friends from Hollywood. And that's why it's really interesting how not just the big, names that you would think about back in the 20s and 30s would come there, but also like the Little Rascals. I mean, you don't hear a lot about them, but they did tours. They did vaudeville shows. They did appearances. And so he would have them there constantly. Three Stooges as well. Pretty interesting guy.
Yeah, well, some of the names that, that were appearing there, big names like John Philip Sousa, Will Rogers. And I asked you, not the whole Von Trapp family, but Maria Von Trapp had appeared there?
Yeah, some of the Von Trapp family was there. Duke Ellington, Lawrence Welk, Charlton Heston, a lot of big celebrities back then. Again, it was a palace. When it first opened, it was designed by the same people who designed the Chicago Theater and many other palaces around the state of Illinois and around the country. And when it opened, it was the place to be. I mean, Hollywood's elite, the city of Chicago's elite. And if you think about it and you put it in perspective, at the time the population of St. Charles was only 5,000 people. Well, who would build a theater that would seat 1,014? That's 20% of the whole population. It's like if Chicago did a theater for 1 million people. It just doesn't. You put it in perspective, and that's how popular. And even at that time, there were lines around the building to get in, and they would feature the pipe organ, which was a big thing in all those theaters back then.
Right. It's what the Martin Colton, and it was $25,000 at the time. The best organ in the country, and you had it restored.
Yeah, actually, the first one that was used was a certain size, and it was so popular that about a year later, around 1929, 1930, they brought in a bigger one, and it had 3 ranks and had just over 1,000 pipes in the walls, and just amazing. And those were the rock stars of the day, So they were doing everything with the silent films. but also having concerts, pipe organ concerts. And they were the celebrities. They were the theatrical celebrities. Don't forget, there's no television at the time. There's very little radio, newspapers, even newspapers. Those were the entertainment celebrities.
It had to be quite the place. I mean, there was even a special train that would come from Chicago to take people out there to see the shows.
Absolutely.
And you had explained to me earlier a little bit about, not that St. Charles was the gateway, but it was on the west. So coming from the west, people were stopping there or seeing that before they came.
Well,
to
you know
Chicago?
what? Again, it was a very strategic move by Lester Norris. He figured out that geographically, to get from the west to the theaters of downtown Chicago, the trains they wouldn't, but they didn't at the time. But what they did, he created a line that made them come through town, and they would stop with just enough time for them to stop, do a show, stay overnight at the Hotel Baker, which is across the street. That was built a year later, 1927.
That's still there as well.
That's still there, and it's doing tremendous as well. And it was actually originally connected under the river by a long tunnel. It's about a block distance, and so the entertainers would be whisked away and be able to go and avoid all the craziness of the fans.
So now change starts to happen. Movies with sound, and you explained to me that some of the actors that were, not to get off into that, but it does make sense as part of the story, but a lot of those people that were in vaudeville didn't make the transaction into movies. Yeah,
that's an interesting thing too, because you had all these big celebrities of the day. We know of Charlie Chaplin, we know of a few other ones, but there were so many others at the time. But when the talkies first started happening, like in 1927 with Al Jolson's The Jazz Singer, many of those silent film stars, you might have a big strapping strong man who had a very high-pitched voice, or maybe they didn't speak English at all. Many of the actors were from Europe. So many really didn't make the transition from silent film to vaudeville or silent film to talkies. Very few did, actually.
So now what does this do to theaters like the Arcada Theater, but the theater itself? There's kind of a little lull because people are not going to see the silent or...
Well, it's interesting. I mean, there's volume spoken about it, Vince, because, you think about what's going on. Notwithstanding the Depression of the 20s in 1929 in October when it first hit, but, the films of the day, I mean, even during the Depression, one of the biggest industries was the film industry. For a nickel, you can go see, there was entertainment, But there was a lot going on. There was a lot of, it was a very dynamic industry at the time. And, you had the silent films going away. You had vaudeville getting stagnant, but then you had live entertainment going from vaudeville to full-fledged musicals and big shows like the Roaring Twenties type shows, those Busby Berkeley, was it Gold Diggers of 1933 and 1934, those movies coming out, so they're looking to see those called production shows. So that was the advent of the production shows in the 30s through the 50s. So it was, it was an evolution that the theater's been going through, and it is actually one of the only theaters of its kind that was built in the Roaring Twenties that's still operating the same way, the same stage continuously. Not with all this renovation, and we brought it back to actually the way it looked. You walk in, that's exactly the way it looked back in 1926.
And talk about form following function, whatever you want to call it, but you said not only would you get a silent movie, but they'd have a full orchestra. You have a full orchestra pit there?
Yeah, it was the entertainment of the day. It's not just, now you pay $20 and you go see a movie and that's what you do. You see some trailers, you see a movie and you leave. Back then it was a whole day. It was many hours of a show. Even the vaudeville show. The vaudeville show was structurally was 5 acts. The headliner was the 4th act. And then you have the 5th act, the closer, and then you have a short. Matter of fact, we opened up our vaudeville show. Our first show was called False. I think it was the Fire Alarm or False Alarm. Our Gang Comedy was the first thing that was shown there. So that's why we're going to come full circle. This is our 85th anniversary, by the way,
really?
This year. Yeah, and we're very excited about that because I'm doing a lot of different things that. Kind of a throwback, and one of the things is doing some things with the Little Rascals and a film festival there. We're doing a Charlie Chaplin film festival, and it's just been going crazy with some of the different shows that we're doing. I'm pretty proud of it.
Nice. And so now what, it gets a little, the musicals for a little while, and then we get into the 50s or the 60s, it started changing to a movie house.
Yeah, it went down through the 50s. I mean, the 50s they had a lot of local theater, community theater that was going on there, and then they tried to start doing it in the late 60s. It got a little bit tired, and then the advent of those disaster films like Jaws or Towering Inferno or Poseidon Adventure and surround sound. Remember that came out, and CinemaScope was a different format where it was wider and more condensed, but wider format. All these new technological advancements in cinematography that they were trying to spark up the industry, which it did, and that's when Classic Cinemas came in and they took over the property, and they did some ADA compliant renovations and made it a great film house. But then what happened was the advent of multiplex. Multi-screen houses.
Sure, you go in and there's like 12 shows going on.
Exactly, and financially, for them to show one film, it didn't make sense. So they could have cut it up maybe into two, like they did with the Portage Theater or the Palatine, a few of them, but it never made it. So it was then bought by a family, a local family in St. Charles that kept it going, and it just continued to the evolution until 2005. I came along on a white horse, and we just kind of, yeah, that's exactly what.
But you did. I mean, you really did. I know that it's pretty much one of the anchors of St. Charles now.
We'd like to think so.
Hard work.
It's of the downtown, of the downtown district. It's the first thing you see.
You had your hands full. I mean, we're talking everything from lighting,
everything,
sound, dressing rooms, and so on. And now you're dealing with landmark status.
Yeah, we got the landmark status actually a few years ago, and again, that's a little bit. People we just put a $100,000 brand new marquee in. We put dressing rooms. We just did more renovation. I mean, really stepping it up. Something we're so proud of, and a lot of questions. It's surprising how protective and if not curious people can be about the landmark status. And they said, well, how could you be doing all this if it has this landmark status? And that's kind of a misunderstanding where there's certain landmarks in the country like the Washington Monument and so forth where they're protected, but you can't touch them, can't do anything. Mm-hmm. But when you're listed on the historic registry, what that does is allow you certain grants, certain tax credits, which we have yet to take advantage of. But that just allows you to do that. If you keep it in its original state or renovate it back to the way it was, that allows you to get certain benefits. But we're just happy to keep it, that people are accepting it and they're loving it.
Well, you tell the story about you're outside painting something and people drive by. Hey, what are you doing? Don't
touch
it.
Like, hey, it's my place. What do you mean? What am I doing? Don't worry about it. Keep driving.
So all right, you're right. You showed up on your white horse, but no, seriously, folks.
Yes. Hey.
Okay. In the meantime, you have booked shows there. Mm-hmm. You're the traveling show, but now Onesti Productions has a home.
Well, I've been doing this, for almost 30 years now, Vince, and we do corporate events, concerts, festivals all over the country. And I've always had these great relationships with these entertainers or their management or not only just the entertainers, but also ideas or concepts of things that I would like to produce one day. A lot of us have these, boy, if I ever get into show business, or I would love to produce this play or this movie or whatever. And I was always looking for my own place. And this, I somewhat stumbled upon it. And put an offer in, and before I knew it was mine. I mean, it was that that quick. It was so quick that I think I was in Italy at the time when I got the phone call that you got a theater now. It's like, be careful what you wish for. It's like, now what? And it was need a lot of renovation, need a lot of work, and it's been 7 years in the making. And just especially in the last maybe 2 years, been very, very aggressive. And again, the shows that we're bringing there now, it's headline. I mean, it shows you'll see
big names: Mickey Rooney, Wayne Newton, Jerry Lewis.
Yeah,
and you tie into all the rock bands as well. Kansas.
Well, I try to. It's a variety. I mean, it's a variety. I mean, you'll have, like, for example, this year we have everybody from Don Rickles to Kenny Loggins to Foghat to. I mean, it's just like I'm trying to be a lot of things for a lot of people. The cool thing about owning a theater is that, I get to do what I like and bring in what I like. Yeah. And I'm a student of the ages, of the history of entertainment. That's why for me to have Mickey Rooney's 89th birthday was like a big deal for me. Having Connie Francis there, doing Patty Page's 80th birthday, Wayne Newton, Las Vegas legend, Jerry Lewis. I've got Don Rickles, one of the last. I mean, he wasn't really a Rat Pack, but he's of that era. I mean, it's believe me, all that stuff is way more for me than it is for anybody else. But then I gotta pay for it, so I gotta sell it. Yeah. But yeah, and that's why it's been so cool, because I get to know these people, and like Connie Francis, I talk to every other day now. Mickey Rooney, he spent a week with me. I mean, the stories I have about him and Judy and all the other one-namers like Spencer and Clark.
It's American history.
Well, it really, really is, and it's so interesting. And even with Jerry Lewis, I mean, I was in his dressing room for 2 hours, me and him. That's it.
Wow.
And I can write a book on that. Just I asked him a couple questions. I was very, because you hear about Jerry, you hear stories about him, being slightly difficult to
people
speak.
can say what they will, but look how much money he's raised for.
Yeah, and like I said, even that was an experience. And he came in and we talked. We talked about Dean Martin, and we talked about Frank, and we talked about Sammy, and this is like first, this is it. So yeah. I mean, it was very, very interesting, and I'm a kid of the '70s, so I loved Kansas and Foreigner and Boston and Styx and all those great. Well, we've got them all coming, so it's cool for me. I'm front and center. I'm like jamming, having a great time.
Tell me a little bit about, because I know you're part of this as well, the Charlie Chaplin Film Festival.
Well, that just, the city of St. Charles, and the Fox Valley Repertory, and a few of the other theaters, the Steel Beam and the Norris Center, and St. Charles which is something I didn't even realize until just recently, until they pointed out. St. Charles, Illinois is one of the very few communities in the state of Illinois, in the Midwest, that actually has 4 fully functioning, full-service theaters. And so we thought it would be good, it would be nice. It was actually, the folks over at the Fox Valley Repertory thought it would be nice to put together a theater festival showcasing what's going on in St. Charles Theater. So we all had to come up with shows. And for me, the other theaters, they have what we call extended run shows. They'll have like the same show for 3 months or 2 months, So for them to have a show running for 3 weeks straight, because that's how long they want to do this for, is relatively easy. For me, most of my presentations are known as one-offs, where I'll have a concert. I can't have, like we just had Bret Michaels, for example. I can't have Bret Michaels for 3 weeks straight, although there are many young ladies out there who would come and love it. It doesn't work that way. So I had to come up with something that had some staying power, was affordable for us, something that would stay fresh, and something that was unique. And although you can get Charlie Chaplin films on eBay or Amazon, but you very rarely see them on TV, and you never see them at movie houses, because the family really closely guards them.
Big screen is a big different experience anyways, right?
Oh, it really is. So I got a hold of the family who had the rights and the estate in London, and I got the rights to every movie from 1918 to 1958.
No kidding.
We're showing that every day for Thursday through Sunday for those 3 weeks. We're also bringing a gentleman by the name of Human Maran, who was a national an author, a national speaker on Charlie. He's the foremost historian, foremost sought-after historian on Charlie Chaplin, and he's going to be kind of like hosting these movies. So he'll do a little intro to each film, doing some trivia, doing some facts, some Q&A. He's a tremendous, to get him alone was tremendous. So very excited about that.
Well, I'm not an expert on him, but I know obviously his films are entertaining. But I've heard many entertainers speak that he's the bar for comedy. Dick Van Dyke.
Well, for physical comedy. He's what started physical comedy. The stuff at the Hell Roach Studios and the Keystone Cops, and to be the king of silent film, the essence of silent film is obviously physical comedy. And when he's the king, he was the king. So it did definitely set the bar. And Chevy Chase and everybody, even to this day, Jim Carrey credits him, with helping his career.
When you talk about a lot of these bands that tour, I'm sure they're not doing just one show here. So there must be venues around the country. Do you network with these other venues?
Well, that's part of what we do, Vince. I mean, to say that you're sure they're not doing just our one show. A lot of times they do.
Well, you know what I mean.
No, but a lot of times they do. I mean, it's a combination of both. It's called routing, and I'll be working with other theaters, or I'll work with the act themselves, or the act will call me and say, you know what, we're playing Iowa on Thursday, and we're playing Milwaukee on Saturday. We're sitting in a hotel room on Friday night. Can you do something? So that's why we'll get like. We're doing Weird Al Yankovic, for example. That's a tremendous, visual.
Is he a Chicago guy? Is he from here?
He will be on this May 31st. But no, he's not a Chicago guy. But, of course, we all grew up with a bunch of guys named Weird Al, haven't we?
Yeah,
Weird Tony,
they
Weird
played
Al.
accordions.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but no, we've got, but he's coming on Tuesday night. Or Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, who is a former resident of St. Charles. He's doing his greatest hits tour,
No
and he's
kidding.
coming to St. Charles, coming to my theater, as opposed to downtown Chicago. I mean, he's a rock legend. I mean, the Beatles, Paul McCartney's favorite album is Pet Sounds
I've read that.
by Brian Wilson.
That inspired them to do Sgt. Pepper.
Exactly, So, and he's going to be at our little place, St. Charles, our little theater.
Little humble Arcada.
Little humble Arcada.
I know a lot of the shows that appear there are tribute bands. I'm a huge fan of tribute bands. I tell you the story about how I saw the Australian Pink Floyd. I don't know what the guys in Pink Floyd look like anyways. They played note for note. I mean, all these bands practice and they play the songs that you want to hear from these past bands, former bands, whatever you want to call them. So tell me a little bit about it. You've got everybody from Elvis to Johnny Cash tributes.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I'm a big fan of tributes. A lot of them sometimes get a bad rap, but I think that, they spend so much time and energy and effort on emulating who they're trying to impersonate or trying to pay tribute to. And that's what it is. It's paying a tribute to them. And, the hours of time, and they nail it. So you can go, and we've used this example before. You can see Roger Waters and the Pink Floyd thing at the Allstate Arena, pay $125 a ticket, pay $40 to park, be with 14,000 of your closest friends, and
it might be you.
Well,
though.
for me,
you might
yeah.
know 14.
But no, but you'll be. I mean, seriously, you'll be a football field away from seeing them, and or you can come by us and see Echoes of Pompeii, which is this. We just recently had them, and they're tremendous. Hear the songs exactly. I mean, it's scary how well they do it. It's multimedia. There's lasers. There's lights. It's an experience. You pay $19. It's free to park. You're sitting in a great seat, and you're 50 feet from the stage. I mean, it's
Nice.
for that, and especially in this economy, that's a lot. So we have an actual program that we do, and we bring in the top, not just your local club ones. I mean, the top national tributes. Some of them happen to be from Chicago, like American English. That's by far the best Beatles tribute in the country, and we've got them coming. We've got Kashmir with Led Zeppelin, and we just had Pink Floyd, Johnny Cash, the Elvis too. We've got 2 of the 3 guys won the International Elvis competition sponsored by Graceland. These are the guys.
Wow, that's the endorsement.
Well, that's the endorsement, and they're coming, and they're backed by the fabulous ambassadors, the country or the world's leading backup band for Elvis. I mean, it's all legit stuff. It's really, really high-end stuff.
It mentions on your website about rentals. Now, what would be a typical thing that somebody would rent out the whole place for?
Well, that's the interesting thing, too, about our place, because when you say what the typical thing is, I mean, a typical use would be maybe a bank or some company wants to do something for the community or for other employees, and maybe they'll rent out and we'll show a movie, give them popcorn and pop and something like that. But, we thrive for the atypical. We thrive for the unique. And we had, I've taken out the middle section of the seats and put upscale temporary seats and laid down carpeting. So now we have all kinds of receptions, weddings we have corporate events, we have just a lot of really neat, unique events there. When, rather than having it in a banquet hall or some other, other place, a large restaurant, we have full food capabilities, a full bar, and to have it at a 1926 theater with a 40-foot screen, I mean, it's really an amazing experience to have your event there.
We're running short on time, so I know there's other things that you're excited about. The Godfathers of Comedy, that's on Showtime?
Yeah. I produced, along with with other comics, a stand-up comedy show called The Godfathers of Comedy. Features the 5 top Italian-American stand-ups in the country on the stand-up circuit. One of the guys is Frank Santarelli from The Sopranos, one guy from The Drew Carey Show, John Campanera, Rocky LaPorte, Willie Fratto, and Paul D'Angelo. And what they did actually. They performed an unbelievable night of stand-up, and we shot at 7 cameras, high def. And this is a little while ago, about 2.5 years ago, just when the economy tanked. HBO was supposed to buy it. They backed out from buying all the programming, so it sat in a can for a while. And then this January, I got the call.
Sort of a few guys I know sat in the can too.
Yeah, but you know, very good. I'm going to use that one. But no, we had. I got a call from Showtime beginning of the year, and by the end of January, they bought it, and it's aired like 8 times already. They bought another 30 airings. We're traveling around the country with it, and it's very cool.
And it goes without saying, I don't know how you get all the time to do this, but the festivals. First off, the Oakley Festival, which is at 24th and Oakley, that's Father's Day weekend.
Yes, Father's Day weekend. We're doing that this 22nd year now, and that's one of the things we do. We produce these festivals, and I've got the Father's Day Oakley Italian Festival. It's called Festa Pastavino. Then we do the Taylor Street Italian Festival, which is the granddaddy. It's an amazing 4-block-long festival. That's the second week of August. And then the West Suburban Festa Italiana, which is in Addison by Lake Street and Route 53. That'll be the 4th weekend of August.
And that'll have Mass as well.
We have Mass. We have.
Is the Mass in Italian? Is that a simple
We do.
question?
We have Italian Mass, and we've got tremendous. It's not just your standard beef sausage and pizza. We've got Vesuvios and risottos. I mean, great food. The entertainment, we're bringing in from all over the country, plus local favorites that we have here. Not just the guy in black socks, sandals, and shorts playing the accordion. Of course, we have him too. That's part of it.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just a real. It's a throwback, and it's a way to celebrate Italian culture.
And you've worked it around, so all the other Italian festivals, still the religious, the church festivals, the Sicilian festival on Labor Day, still get to all do theirs, and nobody
Everybody
overlaps.
does their own thing. Yeah, we all try to do our own thing. I mean, there's 52 weekends and 520 Italian organizations, so it doesn't. It's tough, but we all try to work hand in hand.
Well, the ones, I mean, it's a boom to the areas that you do it as well. I mean, the restaurants stay open, they play off of it. It's all the local Italians restaurants that sell their food there, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, especially in Oakley, it's no secret that it was a challenging neighborhood way back we started this thing. And, the festival really showcases the great job that those restaurants do down there. And they needed a promotional vehicle, and this has become that promotional vehicle. It's a big kick in the promotional pants for the Oakley Festival.
Nice, and thanks to you. Because the Italian community is very proud of you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they are. And on behalf of them, I want to present you with the cannolis. There's some cannolis for you.
Oh, there's a cannoli back there. I thought you
Yeah.
were just happy to see me. Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I mean, we could sit and talk
These
for
are
hours.
really cannolis.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
What do you think? I'm going to bring you spoiled out?
Well, this was this is on my catering writer for. I appreciate you providing that for me. So, leave the gun, take the cannolis?
Yeah, leave the gun.
Okay.
Listen, I appreciate it. What
think-
time you got, anyway?
I've got 2 hours later than it should have been.
No, what time
That's
is
5 to 8, actually.
it? Ooh, I got to leave. You know what? I got to go. I'm sorry.
You got to go.
For Ron, O'Shows,
Oshows.com, Oshows.cannoli. Just
go to all the festivals. For his biography,
This is a real cannoli.
I told you.
I thought it was a prop. That's a rubber cannoli.
All right. Listen, I'm going to this meeting. Enjoy.
Yeah, see you later.
Thanks again.
Uh-huh.
Studiamo.
Salute. Cheers. This is good. I got powdered sugar all over my pants.